Shalom Yisrael. When it starts with those by giving all praise to Yahweh Hashem El Shai. That belongs to the apostles of GMS and honestly those that are doing the work and truth while sincerity. Now in this edition of the FAQ, I'm going to answer the question, what is assimilation, right? So I'm just basically going to go straight into it. It says cultural assimilation is the process by which a person or group's language and or culture come to resemble those of another group. The term is used to refer to both individuals and groups, and in the latter case it can refer to either immigrant diasporas or native residents that come to be culturally dominated by another society. Right, so basically the whole point of assimilation is when a group of people basically mix in with another group of people, and then they basically learn their customs. They basically start behaving like one another. Right, an example, and the best example of this for you is immigrant women. Right, so women from the other nations, say for instance Muslim women from like Saudi Arabia, and that they'll come over here, we've witnessed at a camp, and start running their mouth. However, were they to be in their home country, were they to be in their native land, that would be an act that could get them killed. Here it is in their native countries, they're not allowed to walk around on their own yet. We'll be at camp and we'll see them on Oxford Circus, basically chatting shit. Right? But forget about them. The main point is that's what Israel basically do, man. Israel's basically been in Babylon so long, and each time we were in captivity of some sort, we started behaving like the people around us, which is why ultimately, what does the scripture say in Deuteronomy, I believe it was the 7th chapter, no, 32nd chapter, it says when the Most High divided, because, Israel's holy, and holy means separate. We ain't supposed to be around the heathen because you know what? When we're around them, we learn their ways. And Israel likes to be the best at everything. If the heathen are being wicked, Israel want to be the best at being wicked. Example of that is if a black girl amongst the only black girl amongst a group of white girls, she'll be the biggest hoe out of all of them. She'll be the biggest cum slut because they're sluts, so she has to one up on them. And the case of that is in Babylon, man. All this, look, keep your line up fresh for weeks. Line up. Despite the fact Leviticus 19:27 says, "Ye shall not round the corners of your beards, neither shall thou mar the corners of thy beard." It's like ye shall not round the corners of your heads, neither shall thou mar the corners of your beard. Because this all comes from, I believe, from Egypt, man. This was an Egyptian custom. This isn't the custom of a Hebrew as we read in the scriptures there. And I'm basically going to bring out that you also had this happening at the same time in Ezra's, the time of Ezra's. Now this is, I believe, I'm not too sure which king it is. Maybe King Darius. I don't know if he had died at this point. But it was that time. It was at that time around that period of King Darius or Cyrus. It says Ezra's 9:1 says, "Now when these things were done, the princes came to me, saying, The people of Israel and the priests and the Levites have not separated themselves from the people of the lands, doing according to their abominations, even of the Canaanites, the Hittites, the Perizzites, the Jebusites, the Ammonites, the Moabites, the Egyptians, and the Amorites. For they have taken of their daughters for themselves and for their sons, so that the holy seed have mingled themselves with the people of those lands. Yea, the hand of the princes and the rulers hath been chief in this trespass." So basically, they were basically just mixing. And this scripture there backs up the point I was making earlier on. It says, doing according to their abominations. Right, and you know how Jake get, man. In fact, how all men get, man, when they're into their woman. Especially look at Jake nowadays, man. They start bowing down to their women. How did King Solomon go off? You know, pursuant to Nehemiah, the last chapter in Nehemiah, is because, you know, he started basically, you know, it wasn't the fact he was dealing with the heathen women, it was the fact that he started, you know, worshipping their gods, you know, building houses for their gods. You know, I think that's Nehemiah, the 13th chapter. Right, it says, did not Solomon, we start Nehemiah 13:23. It says, in those days also saw I Jews that married wives of Ashdod, of Ammon and Moab, and their children spake half in the speech of Ashdod, and could not speak in the Jews' language, but according to the language of each people. And I contended with them, and cursed them, and smote certain of them, and plucked off their hair, and made them swear by the Most High, saying, Ye shall not give your daughters unto their sons, nor take their daughters unto your sons, or for yourselves. Did not Solomon, king of Israel, sin by these? Yet among many nations, you know, and basically goes on and says, nevertheless, even him did outlandish women cause to sin, right? Because that's so basically the point I'm bringing out is it happened then, you know, and it can happen. And it's happening right now. That which hath been is that which is now. You know, that which is now is that which is to be. You know, so basically this was happening back then. It's happening now. You know, and as I showed you the picture, man, all, you know, one of the customs that Jake love right now is basically, you know, the whole lineup thing, man. Now the new one is this whole homosexuality thing. You know, that's the custom of the West. Here it is, you know, if you go, you know, these guys, you know, like to talk about Africa this, Africa that, you know, just since I've mentioned that word, you know, we're not Africans, we're Israelites. You know, you have Israelites in Africa, you know, but you had the Gambian president basically saying, you know, don't try and bring that gay shit over here. You know, if we catch a gay person, we'll slit his throat, and there's nothing a white man can do about it. You know, so that's based point of when we're amongst these heathens, we start following their customs, man. You know, if you notice the way, if you observe the way first generation immigrants behave, in comparison to their children is completely different, because their children have assimilated into the society and learned the way of the heathens. When the scriptures in Jeremiah the 10th chapter 2nd verse says, thus saith the Lord, learn not the way of the heathen, and be not dismayed at the sign of heaven, right? And so basically the best way of not learning the way of the heathen is to not to be around the heathen. You know, and you know, so with that, I hope I've answered the question. Let's see if there's any points here. It says assimilation, noun, act of assimilating, from Old French assimilation, from Latin assimilatonomen, assimilation nomen, lotion, I can't say that word, likeness, similarity, right? You know, because that's the thing, you start behaving like these heathens, man. Right, and you know, for all intents and purposes, you become a heathen. You know, which is why you know brothers in the camp basically always like to say, you know, you're westernized. You know, in reference to IUIC, they call them westernized Hebrews. You know, but for most people here, they're westernized. They're not. You know, they're not Israelites anymore. You know, we tell them that you can, you know, if you can pop. You can take a woman, you can rape a woman. We tell them that they got a problem with it. You know, when actually that's our custom, but because they've been westernized, they more or less are. You know, they're not Hebrews anymore. They're not Israelites anymore, to be more specific. You know, but with that, I hope I've got the point. You know, and until the next one, I'm gonna say shalom.